Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, bringing you our second game of the week. And we are staying out in the ACC. And we're headed to Chapel Hill as the 19th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies will be taking on the 8th ranked North Carolina Tar Heels in a game that under normal circumstances would be huge in determining who would win the ACC Coastal Division. But as we all know, we don't have divisions in the ACC this year. But this game is still going to be huge in determining who can still contend for that final spot in the ACC championship game alongside Clemson. So we are in for a huge one on Saturday morning, a very, very fun one on Saturday morning. And we're going to break down the offenses, the defenses, the keys to this game, and who we have taking home a huge victory on Saturday afternoon. But first, let's take a look at a few key notes. The first thing is that North Carolina is favored in this game by 5 points. And of course, that spread, guys, again, brought to you by betnow.eu. Check them out down in the description below and go sign up on their website using our promo code GRIDIRON. You get a 100% sign-up bonus to use on spreads like this and every other college football game, NFL game, MLB, NBA, whatever it may be. That's the best betting site out there. We've enjoyed working with them for over a year. We've been using them for over a year. And you can use our expert picks. Many of you has asked about our against the spread picks. You can get those over on our website, thegridironexpert.com, and use our expert picks, our spread picks, over on BetNow. So many great ways to use that. So many great opportunities over there. So make sure to not forget it. All that, expert picks, BetNow, everything else down in the description below. So let's take a look at the history between Virginia Tech and North Carolina right now. And really, it's not much history. I just want to talk about what happened last year, as I'm sure many Hokies fans want to do. Because last year's game between Virginia Tech and North Carolina was one of the better games of 2019, but yet somehow at the same time, it's one of the most forgotten games of 2019. Virginia Tech won that game 43-41 in 6 overtimes. 6 overtimes. And remember, due to those different overtime rules, I believe it was after the 3rd or 4th overtime, the two teams solely went to 2-point conversions. Just 2-point conversions. North Carolina, Sam Howell was stopped on their first possession of the 6th overtime, and Virginia Tech was able to run it in to win by 2. The Hokies have won 4 straight over North Carolina in this overall series, and many think it's going to be 5 straight, including the FPI, who has Virginia Tech with about a 56% chance to win this game. So despite being on the road, despite being the lower-ranked team, despite maybe having a lot of players out for this game, the FPI is favoring Virginia Tech, and we're going to find out if that's going to happen or not. Both teams coming into this game are 2-0. Undefeated matchup, top 20 matchup, makes for some great football. But both teams are coming off a disappointing game in last week. What was that be? Week 5 now. Virginia Tech coming off a 38-31 victory on the road against Duke. And it should be noted again that while they only won by 7, if you take away the muffed punt that Duke recovered in the end zone, and you take away the Duke field goal as time expired that didn't mean anything, Virginia Tech wins the game by 17 points. And we're not talking about it being a lackluster performance. So that score to me, a little bit closer than the game really was. Too many mistakes by the Hokies, but nonetheless, a win's a win, and they got the job done. Same for North Carolina. They overcame some offensive struggles, went on the road and defeated Boston College. A pesky Boston College team this year defeated them 26-22 in Chestnut Hill. So both teams, lackluster performances. They need a major bounce-back one here. Someone's escaping Chapel Hill with a win on Saturday. Who is it going to be? Let's start with the offense here for Virginia Tech. That's what I want to start with. We always start with the visiting team. A lot of questions for the Hokies coming into this game because they have been without some key starters in their 2 games this season against North Carolina State and then last week against Duke. They were without 23 players in their win over NC State. They were without 21 players in their win against Duke last week, all due to COVID-19. So the major question for Virginia Tech is who's going to be back? Who's going to be back, and will their star quarterback, Hendon Hooker, be back? Right now, Justin Fuente and many other analysts out there believe that he will be. We thought he would be last week against Duke, and he wasn't. Braxton Burmeister was given the start, who's averaging 172 passing yards per game in his 2 starts this season. But if Hendon Hooker can get back in this game, that dual threat capability for Virginia Tech, that could be an absolute game changer. So that's going to be something to watch out for here. But the major storyline outside of that for Virginia Tech is how well they are running the football. And really, it's not how well the team is running the football, it's how well Khalil Herbert is running the football. The transfer running back from Kansas, who is not only making himself known within the ACC, but is making himself known nationally as well. Last week against Duke, he had 358 all-purpose yards. That's pretty dang good. Herbert leads the nation right now by averaging 156 rushing yards per game this season. He has 312 on the year to go along with 3 touchdowns. Virginia Tech as a whole, their team averages 319 rushing yards per game and averages 7 yards per carry. Herbert, a major force behind that, but also shows some of the talent they have behind them. Keep in mind, Virginia Tech also landing Rutgers transfer Raheem Blackshear. So Virginia Tech loaded on the offensive line, loaded with their running game. They're averaging over 41 points per game. That trend could continue here against North Carolina, although the Tar Heels have a very difficult defense and obviously is a team that is very good against the run, something that we will touch on in a second. But quarterback play going to be the most important for Virginia Tech in this one. Hendon Hooker or Braxton Burmeister, and if it is Hooker, how rusty will he be having not played football since that bowl loss to Kentucky? North Carolina, on the other hand, they were expected to have one of the better offenses within the ACC this year, and they've been a little shaky. They've been a little lackluster, especially against, I would say, inferior opponents, against Syracuse and then Boston College. The Tar Heels are only averaging 28.5 points per game. But the one thing that's really impressive to me is we knew coming into 2020 that North Carolina was going to be led by their passing attack, that they were going to be led by Sam Howell, who right now is thrown for 520 yards, 3 touchdowns, but also has 3 interceptions. We knew he was going to lead this team. But North Carolina has done a great job, and Mack Brown has done a great job of finding balance within his team, as North Carolina is averaging 264 passing yards per game and 168 rushing yards per game, led by Michael Carter, who already has 199 yards on the year. So a couple 100-yard performances from Carter, including a handful of touchdowns to go along with that. They're looking pretty dang good. So the running game and the passing game complements each other in North Carolina's offense. One, to me, really can't thrive without the other, at least this season, with the amount of talent they have coming back on both sides of the ball. Howell, though, once again, is the key. Just like Hendon Hooker or Braxton Burmeister will be the key for Virginia Tech in this game, Sam Howell is due for a breakout game. Everybody talks about sophomore slumps. I think we're kind of seeing one right now. 520 yards through 2 games is pretty dang good, but the 3 interceptions and only 3 touchdowns is not. North Carolina's got to find that spark offensively that we saw over the later half of last season. That's got to come back now against Virginia Tech if this team wants to have a chance to make the ACC championship game. So switching over to defense, I want to start with Virginia Tech here. We mentioned so many players out for the Hokies in their past 2 games. Again, both against NC State and against Duke. Well, not only have a lot of players been missing, especially in the secondary, a major reason that I think Duke hung in that game for so long last week, Virginia Tech allowing 271 passing yards to Chase Bryce. But Virginia Tech has also been without their new defensive coordinator in Justin Hamilton for those 2 games. He has been out with coronavirus as well. I believe the Hokies have had 4 coaches out alongside those 20-plus players out these previous 2 weeks. And so when you take away a legendary defensive coordinator in Bud Foster, you're replacing him with a new guy in Justin Hamilton. It'd be great to have that guy up in the box or up in the sideline coaching you. And he hasn't been able to do that. Yet the Hokies defense is still getting the job done. It's been a little bit lackluster. It has not been as good as it's been in years past. And that could improve as soon as Hamilton returns to the sideline. But they're allowing 27.5 points per game and 398 total yards per game. So you look at this, guys, you wonder if Justin Hamilton was there, would these stats be a little bit better? Again, North Carolina is going to be the most difficult offense that Virginia Tech has faced this season. I can guarantee you, North Carolina's offense, despite them struggling a little bit, it's way better than Duke's. It's way better than NC State's, even though the Wolfpack just went on the road and defeated Pittsburgh. So Hamilton, whether he's there or not, has to have a game plan in place for this Hokies defense to find a way to shut down Sam Howell and this very balanced North Carolina offense. Again, I don't think you can have one without the other. North Carolina feeds off the run and feeds off the pass. They feed off of each other, so they've got to find a way to continue to do that and find some sparks. Virginia Tech's going to have to find some ways to shut that down and take one of those away. I don't think if you make North Carolina one-dimensional, I genuinely don't think they can win this game. North Carolina, on the other hand, Mack Brown has just done a fantastic job, only in year 2 now in Chapel Hill. And remember, we mentioned that 43-41 loss in 6 overtimes last year. That was one of 6 one-possession losses for North Carolina in 2019. They finished 7-6. All 6 losses, including their loss to Clemson, came by one possession, Virginia Tech being one of them. So they were a few plays away from having a very different season in Chapel Hill in 2019. The defense now is one of the most experienced in the ACC, and the defense now statistically has the best rushing defense in the country. North Carolina, not Georgia, not Alabama, not Florida, not Clemson, North Carolina, and I named a lot of top 10 teams here. North Carolina is in fact a top 10 team, but the Tar Heels have the number 1 ranked rushing defense in the country, allowing just 54 rushing yards per game. Why is that a big deal? Again, because Virginia Tech has one of the best rushing offenses in the country right now. Herbert is the nation's leading rusher, 156 yards per game for Khalil Herbert. He's going up against the best rushing defense in the country. What is going to give here? Will Herbert continue his great success on the ground, or Virginia Tech as a whole continue their great success on the ground? 319 rushing yards per game they're averaging. Or North Carolina's defense, which held Boston College to 40 rushing yards per game, or 40 rushing yards in last week's win. Keep in mind, Boston College, a good running back in David Bailey. Well, North Carolina's defense shut down the Hokies and forced whoever's at quarterback, and Hendon Hooker or Braxton Burmeister, well, they forced them to win the game through the air, something that I genuinely don't think North Virginia Tech can do, especially if it is Burmeister under center, although right now, I don't think it will be. So that's the big storyline here. It's a clash of style. If you had to pick one, Virginia Tech is more of a run-heavy team right now. North Carolina, despite the balance, is more of a pass-heavy team. When in doubt, they would lean on Sam Howell in this passing game. You've got a great rushing offense now going up against the best rushing defense in the country. So clash of offensive styles, an interesting defensive matchup here. This is why this is going to be such a great game. People don't realize some of these numbers that both of these teams are putting up, and they're very respectable numbers. And that's why this 11 o'clock kickoff on ABC is going to be one of the better games of the week. And again, just like last year, has a chance to be one of the better games of 2020. Again, this early on, only in week 6, and just a few games in to this ACC schedule. So what are going to be the keys for this game? What are going to be the keys for the Hokies and the Tar Heels on Saturday? We'll start with Virginia Tech. And we've got a handful. Obviously, we've said it a couple times already. Who's the quarterback going to be? Believe it to be Hendon Hooker. He's supposed to be back. With Hendon Hooker coming back, can he air it out to his wide receivers? Can Virginia Tech move the ball through the air if Khalil Herbert in the run game is stopped? Can Hendon Hooker brush off some rust and play well on the road? Because right now, again, Hooker has not played in a game since that loss to Kentucky in the Belk Bowl, as we mentioned. We saw North Carolina, and I know they're completely different teams. We saw North Carolina go 3 weeks without playing football. 3 weeks between their win versus Syracuse and their win versus Boston College, and they look pretty dang rusty against the Eagles. So 3 weeks compared to months on end. What are we looking at now? 9-10 months since Hooker last played? That's going to be a major question here. How well does he play? How rusty is he? And what kind of decisions does he make? And is his dual threat capability, is his running ability going to be able to be shown in this game, be able to be utilized in this game, because I think while North Carolina's great at stopping the run in between the tackles, I think they're going to be just as good stopping the run from a dual threat quarterback as well. Virginia Tech also, another key for them is stopping Khalil Herbert, utilizing Khalil Herbert, because I believe North Carolina stops him. And what Virginia Tech has to do is get him involved in the passing game just like they did last week against Duke. Virginia Tech, maybe with Hooker back, get him out with some easy throws, some screens, some slight slants across the middle. You can run that with Khalil Herbert. Get him out into open space because he can beat you. He absolutely can beat you. So we get it out to Khalil Herbert through the passing game. If the running up the middle is not going to work, if the tosses out to the right aren't working, then throw it to him. Because he's just as good in the passing game as he is on the run game. So that's what Virginia Tech has to do. You've got such a versatile player in Herbert. Utilize him to the best of your abilities. Don't just stick and hone in on one aspect of his game. And then finally, we've mentioned that Virginia Tech has struggled in the secondary because they've had so many players out. If their players are back, if their secondary is a little bit more healthy, a little bit stronger in this game, will they be able to stop Sam Howell? Can they step up and pick off Sam Howell? He's thrown 3 interceptions. He threw 2 against Syracuse, 1 against Boston College. Can this Virginia Tech defense get at least 1 turnover off of Sam Howell? One that in a game that could be back and forth could be very costly to the Tar Heels' chances of winning this game. For UNC, keep up the run defense. Keep it up, baby. Stop Khalil Herbert. That's plain and simple. I think it's going to be a little bit easier maybe to stop him in the passing game than maybe it is in the run game. So keep it up. Make sure that people know by the end of Saturday afternoon that, yeah, you have the best run defense in the country. Better than anybody else. You have the best run defense in the country. If you can hold Khalil Herbert to under, I'd say 75 rushing yards on the day, that's a success. Another thing is you've got to make Virginia Tech one-dimensional. Maybe you do that by stopping the run and forcing them to win the game through the air. That's another key for Virginia Tech, as we mentioned. If you make North Carolina one-dimensional, it's going to be pretty hard for them to win this game. I don't have a lot of faith in Virginia Tech's quarterbacks right now, regardless of who it is. So you take away that, you make Virginia Tech a pass-happy team, a team that relies on the pass in this game. North Carolina could pull away rather quickly, and Virginia Tech's going to have to play catch-up, which means they're going to have to air it out a lot more often and a lot more than they really want to do. North Carolina also needs to stay balanced. That's the other thing. We looked at the stats. They already are doing that. They need to keep that up. Because one thing's for sure, against maybe a younger Virginia Tech secondary, one that's a little bit beat up, they're going to bite hard if you can establish the run game with Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. You establish the run game with them, that's going to set up the play action for Sam Howell. And I guarantee you, those defensive backs and that entire Hokie secondary, they're going to bite on a hard play action. You do that, and you pick up big gains with Sam Howell through the air, that's going to be critical for North Carolina in winning this game. So stay balanced, because if you do it enough, you're going to have some big gains, whether it's on the ground or through the air. My money is on the play action. If I'm Mac Brown, I am utilizing that as much as possible against Virginia Tech. So that's going to be the key here. So what's going to happen in Chapel Hill? Saturday, 11 o'clock, ABC, 19th ranked team in the country, the 8th ranked team in the country. It's not necessarily a coastal battle, but it is a battle for who might be second in the ACC and playing Clemson in the ACC title game. We might not be in store for another 6 overtime thriller between the Hokies and the Tar Heels. That maybe is a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing between these two programs. But I do think this is going to be another close game. I think it's going to be a very fun game, one that has the potential to be high-scoring, just like we saw last year. But right now, I'm siding with the Tar Heels to win this game. Multiple reasons here. Obviously, health. Virginia Tech still a little bit beat up due to COVID-19. You can't help that. You hate that. I genuinely do, and I'm sure everybody else does as well. North Carolina, a little bit more healthier. Got a little bit more depth right now than Virginia Tech. Their defense, to me, certainly owns the edge over Virginia Tech, especially that running defense. Their quarterback, Sam Howell, owns the edge over whoever is playing quarterback for Virginia Tech, Burmeister or Hooker. Sam Howell owns that edge. And again, I think he's due for a big game. They also have home field advantage. Might not be much of an advantage, but any advantage counts in a game like this. So all of those things combined, I like North Carolina to come in here, win this game, by no more than one possession. It's going to be a one-possession win for the Tar Heels. They do win this game, but Sam Howell throws for 250 yards, and Khalil Herbert, again, I believe is held to, let's say, under 80 yards, 80 yards or less. Not all purpose, just rushing. 80 yards or less against this Tar Heels #1 ranked run defense. And Matt Brown and his Tar Heels squad improved to 3-0. It will be a top 7 team by next week. And they're going to show they're not ACC title contenders, but the Tar Heels are absolutely college football playoff contenders as well. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos. And also make sure to check out everything down in that description below. We've got betnow.eu. Use that promo code GRIDIRON over there. Our expert picks. All of our college football spread picks located on our website, thegridironexpert.com, under the Expert Picks tab. So make sure to go sign up for those. Sign up for our newsletter. Sign up for the Patreon account as well. If you love college football, everything down in the description is for you. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your college football Saturday, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.